Carolyn Vaughn, and I'm running for mayor of Corpus Christi. I think it's very important that I run because we're lacking leadership right now. I'm concerned about the city's debt and which direction they're going. I don't think that we have the leadership. We didn't have the leadership during the COVID crisis. We don't have leadership, fiscal responsibility. I'm afraid, getting in debt. And I just think we need a new face and a new vision for our city.
Good afternoon, neighbors. My name is Priscilla Gonzalez. I'm running for mayor of Corpus Christi. The reason I'm running is because our city is in dire need of new leadership. If we follow our current leadership, it is going to end up affecting the entire quality of life of every citizen in Corpus Christi. I am running for mayor also because we need solutions to problems, and we do have them, but we're currently not implementing all of those solutions. My main platform is to improve the quality of life of every citizen in Corpus Christi, and the way I'm going to accomplish that is by working with our city councilman. I'm going to work on infrastructure, jobs, streets, education, senior citizens, our stray population, our public safety, and I'm also going to work with the homeless issues, which is a dire need. Also the travel industry, and also we're going to turn South Texas or Corpus Christi into the next central travel destination, which is actually going to help the entire community overall in general. We're going to bring in more tourists, and that's going to revenue a lot of tax dollars, and we're going to actually take that money, invest it back into our city, and we're going to grow Corpus Christi.
I'm Joe McComb, and I'm running for re-election, currently the mayor, and we have some unfinished business that we'd like to accomplish. And I think that if you look at our record over the last 2 years or 4 years, that you see we've accomplished a great deal. We've been able to move our street reconstruction and maintenance programs forward in a great way. There's a lot of construction going around town. We've been able to reduce our bonded indebtedness by over $200 million over the 4 years. And we've made significant improvement in our parks. We've also recognized that we've got a lot more improvements to make in our parks. We've got a lot more streets to deal with. And in your neighborhood, there's a lot of streets there, and I've got a list of the ones that are going to be here in 21, 22. So I'll go over those if I have an opportunity. And I really want to hear from the folks in the neighborhood. And I would just ask for your vote. I think I've brought some stability to the city. We've been challenged a number of times under my terms on the council. We had Hurricane Harvey, we had Hurricane Hannah, we've had COVID, and then we had the Beta, the hurricane that really wasn't a hurricane from the city standpoint, other than just the high tides and the water damage out on the island. And so we've remained calm and tried to steer the ship in the right direction, even though sometimes we've been over troubled waters. But I think we're on the downside of COVID. We're getting into the season. Hopefully the hurricane season is over. But anyway, I love what I do. I don't have any personal or hidden agendas. I'm just here to serve, and I've done it for a long time, and I'd like to have this next term. We've got a great city manager that this council hired, and I told Peter that I would stick around for another term to try to make sure that he's got his feet well planted in the community. He's made his contacts, and I think he's been impressive, at least from the comments that we've heard from the community. The council made the right decision with this city manager. So I'd be happy to answer whatever questions you may have, and I'd certainly ask for your vote. Joe McComb for mayor. I'm number 7, lucky number 7 on the ballot. There's a lot of people running. You might want to make sure you know who these candidates are, what they stand for, what their service is, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
So my name is Paulette Guajardo, and I am currently your councilwoman at large and have been for the last 4 years or 2 terms. I am currently running for mayor of Corpus Christi. I'm running for mayor to build and recover our economy, to fix our streets, to strengthen public safety, and to redefine what our city's role is in public health, because public health is public safety. And now that we've been through this pandemic, we have to redefine that as a city.
I think that's the backbone of the city. It's important that we have neighbors that get along. I think it's important that we have safety in our neighborhood. It's important that we have neighbors' input on what goes on in the city. They're the ones that live here. They're paying the taxes. So I think it's just really important that the mayor and the council listens to what the neighbors want and what the citizens of Corpus Christi want their city to be.
So the value of that would be if neighborhoods help create stronger cities, that actually benefits the quality of life of everybody overall. Everybody's safety and neighborhood programs are very important and critical just to kind of get everybody together. What your organization is actually doing right now is of great value, and I actually appreciate, and I'm very happy to be here.
Neighborhoods are the core. I mean, that's where you make friends from very early, when your mom's taking you from a stroller down the sidewalks till you go through high school, and you grow up with the kids in your neighborhood. You get to meet them, the families get to know each other, and it just bonds and it makes friends for life. And the quality of life in those neighborhoods is important. And that's why we want our neighborhoods to be good in terms of having the infrastructure and the environment to raise families and to protect the investments that people have. That most people's homes is probably the most expensive investment they've got. And the city needs to try to make those investments continue to appreciate by the way we keep our infrastructure and our streets and these sort of things. And we've run behind in the past, but we're trying to catch up as quickly as we can with the money that we have. And so we're committed to neighborhoods. I love neighborhoods. And we also I do, and the council, I think, as a majority, tries to protect neighborhoods in terms of encroachment and making special zoning approvals going into neighborhoods that aren't, single family residential neighborhoods. I think families are important. I think the more we see our country, the more we realize how important the family unit is and family neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods are extremely important to me. Parks in neighborhoods are extremely important to me. The unity and I guess the feel of knowing who you live next to and in essence with is very important to me. And I think all of that falls within, to an extent, in partnership with the city, because we have ordinances. We have ordinances that affect all of those things. And so I think that it's extremely important that as a city leader, that we involve you, the neighbors, the neighborhood voice in certain, depending on it, if there's an issue, if something's going on, that you have a say in that. And so I think that's, for me, it's very important. It's community input, because that is your greatest investment, is where you live and the purchase of that home for you and your family. So I believe at the end of the day, I believe that your voice matters in the decisions that we make.
Well, I think what we need a vision, and I don't think we have that. We need a quality of life for our citizens, our young people, and our families. If you go to other cities, you see they have different things than we do. We're just stagnant in what we're doing. We haven't changed over 20, 30 years. So I want to see what other cities have, and I want our neighborhoods to have those. I want walkability. I want ponds. I want good playground equipment. And most of all, I want safety in our neighborhoods. And I think that we have a good police force, but we need more police officers. And I just, like I said before, I think the input of the citizens is so important for our city and the involvement of our citizens.
Sure. To make Corpus neighborhoods stronger in Corpus Christi, we do need to ensure that the public safety is actually taken care of. So currently, right now, we have strong neighborhoods, but there's always room for improvement. I am very proud to have CCPD as our police department that actually takes care of the community. However, there's always room for improvement. There still are break-ins, there still are like thieves. We still have problems that overall we can actually work together and implement solutions for those problems. So to ensure a strong neighborhood, we also need to ensure strong public safety, and that's where our entire community comes in. So as mayor, I will ensure that public safety is a priority, and that's going to strengthen the neighborhoods.
I mean, I think zoning has a whole lot to do with what goes on in neighborhoods, and some neighborhoods go through transitions, but people move out and folks don't come back in, or So that means you have to be sensitive to that. But I believe, if you provide good community policing in the neighborhood, so you get to know your police officers and they can make sure they're there for your safety and give you that comfort there. Again, the infrastructure to make sure the streets are workable, the plumbing is there, the water is there, the drainage is there. I know there's some drainage issues in your neighborhoods. And so we're addressing those as quickly as we can through our street programs, the reconstruction and the maintenance of streets. And again, just I think very careful in what we do with granting special permits and things about encroachment into neighborhoods. Many of the neighborhoods have homeowners associations. Some of them have deed restrictions. Of course, the city doesn't have any authority in enforcing deed restrictions, but the neighborhoods do. And I think neighborhood associations are good if they're active and aggressive and work to improve their neighborhoods and communicate with all the neighbors that, there are certain things that we'd like to have and certain things you can't do. And so it's those kind of things, but making it a livable place and not always be worried about your safety and making sure the infrastructure is there.
I believe that what we can do as leaders is stay in touch with our neighborhoods. Now we have district representatives who, they represent specifically an area. And so it's easier for them to constantly be in touch with their constituency. That said, one of the things that as mayor is very important to me is leadership that entails bringing our council together and working as a team. Okay, so what I mean by that is we have 5 district representatives. We have 3 at-large members. So the at-large is citywide. The at-large members should be working very closely with those 5. And then of course the mayor should be working with all of the below. But I don't believe today there exists any kind of real structure where we have our at-large assisting and helping our district representatives with whatever it is they need to get done in districts. And I think that if, as mayor, I would make that happen and I would bring that together to where the council would understand, okay, what are we going to accomplish together? Well, the citywide leadership should be helping the districts accomplish that. And then of course the mayor would, that's just more implementation and more support towards keeping us one, so that people in neighborhoods and across the city do not see it as it's us against them. They're making the rules, they're imposing, ordinances or whatever the case may be. It's about, let's talk about the zoning in your area that's being proposed. Let's talk about an ordinance that is bothering you, because we have a lot of code enforcement complaints about vehicles parked on the yards and there's no ordinance against it. I mean, yesterday I had 9 vehicles in the yard, 9, and it's okay. So that, and that's neither here or there at this moment, but that's a good example of districts should be very close with their constituency. At large would be helping them achieve. And then of course the mayor would, it just falls in order. Everybody should be supporting and helping get things done. And I think that draws for just unity all the way across the board.
We don't have enough police officers for our population. In 2014, we added 11 and 2 lieutenants. In 2017, we added 5. And now this city council is going to add, I think, 5 in the next 5 years each year. That's not enough. All we're doing is putting a Band-Aid. I think that we need a growth policy, a mechanism that when you grow, you automatically add police officers. We need to do that. We've got to catch up. And if you continue like you're going, we're not going to. The crime has gotten worse, and we don't have enough police officers. Chief Markle said something. He said, if you're going down the highway and you see a police officer or highway patrol, you immediately put your foot on the brake. That's because it matters when you see their presence. It helps, and we need more police officers. And my plan is to put a growth policy in our growth policy so that we can add more police officers as we grow. And I want to immediately start figuring out a plan so that we can add more than 5 a year.
So interesting enough, yes, I'm for the hiring of more police officers in Corpus Christi. Right now, we currently are growing at a very accelerated rate. We just completed the census, so we're waiting for those numbers to go in. But as our city grows, we're not adding more officers. Right now, currently, council has approved of 5 more police officers. That's not enough for the entire coastal band area. So as mayor, I'm going to ensure that we have more officers, and the way we're going to do that is by obviously hiring them. Police officers are underpaid, so we do need to work on that. They do need more proper training. So for example, somebody that actually is working the same job for a very long time period, they get comfortable and they lose focus or they lose motivation. So what our police officers need is probably just like a refresher course. So I'm pretty sure there is some way or some type of form that our police officers can actually retake, like a little refresher course that's going to actually motivate them and just remind them of like how important their job is, and that's going to actually benefit the entire city of Corpus Christi. Unfortunately, there still is crime. There's always going to be a bad person out there in the community, but there's also platforms like Nextdoor that actually keep the community informed, and that's actually an app that I'm on, and I'm very active on Nextdoor app. I currently did move from Northside to kind of off of Nile Drive, so my address has shifted, but I am a part of the neighborhood Nextdoor app community, and I do keep up to date with security reports coming from the entire, neighborhood. And I also have a Ring app. That's also another platform that there's a capability for you to put if somebody stole a package from a certain address, and people share the pictures. So that's also another platform that the entire city Corpus Christi needs access to. So Ring, obviously I pay for it, but there's no reason why the average citizen in Corpus Christi should not have access to the Ring network or the Nextdoor app or any type of security service that the public offers, which should be free to every citizen in Corpus Christi.
Well, I mean, working with the police and the training they have, the city embarked on a program in this current budget. Well, I say this current, the new budget just started October 1st of this year. The previous budget, we initiated the adding 5 new uniformed police officers, 5 per year for 5 years, to increase the number of uniformed officers that are available to the public. Again, the neighborhood concept of policing and the communications availability through the police officers to the community and providing them the opportunities in our bond program. We've got some money in there and we're negotiating right now with Del Mar College on their new campus out off of Yorktown Boulevard to build a new training facility for the officers. The training facility they have, I was told that Chief Markle went through the current training facility when he was a rookie policeman. So it's been there a while, and feel like need a new one and have the new amenities that are there. And so we're doing all we can to try to improve our police department and make them more available and more accessible to the public.
Public safety is my most important priority, because that's about the people. And I know that in the Lindale area, that is a very, very important topic because of the crime rate and things that have happened in your area. I have been twice now 3 times endorsed by police and fire associations, and I have been endorsed by them each time I've ran, because they know that it is my priority. And I work very closely, not only with Chief Markle, but with our city manager to address issues and to work towards staffing, for example, the police department, staffing our police department in a better way. We hired 8 police officers. I initiated the hiring of those 8 police officers back in 2017, because if you can believe this, and you probably can, we had not ever had a workshop for public safety for our police department ever. And that means there was never any focus on just what their needs are. We have workshops on all kinds of subjects, you know, with council. And so we got that done, and that led to the hiring of 8 more police officers. We had not grown the police force. When I got on council in 2016, we had not grown the police force in 20 years. But yet, we're growing the city, and when crime happens, they have to prioritize it. That's not fair to you. So public safety has always been my #1 priority. I will continue to work with Chief Markle and Peter Zanoni, because right now we did instill a plan of hiring 5 police officers per year for 5 years. That is not a realistic plan, though. And I know this because of the calls I receive from constituents. It isn't fair that you have to wait because your tires were slashed or whatever the case, because someone else was assaulted, and that's more important. So we have to work towards community policing. We have to work towards how we can responsibly add to our police force, you know, because it's not just police force, it's also their equipment and vehicles and that kind of thing. But I do believe that there's a way, because without that, your quality of life is not, it's not fair. It isn't good. And people care about back to the neighborhoods and their children and where they are. I mean, back when I grew up, it was beautiful to be able to just go outside and ride your bike. Your parents didn't have to worry about anything. We don't do that now because we're afraid. And so I believe that proactive patrolling is also something we need, because it's a deterrent in itself. But we don't have time right now to proactive patrol because they are chasing the calls, you know, as they're getting them in. So it's #1 for me, and I think it's #1 for most people. They want safe neighborhoods.
This is going to be a quick answer. I support the parks. I did when I was on the council. Libraries, I think we need to look at them in a different way, but I still support the libraries. And so I think it's real important, and I think you just have to have your funding, and you don't take that funding away. Senior citizens, I started working on that immediately when I got on the council for the Northwest area. So I'm very supportive of those things.
In regards to the comment on adding funding, we do have the resources to request state and federal funding without actually having to cost the taxpayer dollars. We currently do have a lot of money just sitting around waiting, and this goes back to our bond programs. So when City Council approves a bond program, that money is just sitting there. It takes 2, maybe even more years for the City Council to actually approve and start implementing the bond programs that they approved. So I'm going to cut that time frame in half. There's no reason why they should take over 2 years to actually implement a bond that the entire city has already approved. So in regards to financing, there's money there. We just need to allocate it correctly, and we're not going to raise anybody's taxes. I'm also offering just to donate my mayoral salary, which is $9,000. I'm very fortunate to have a very good career and a pretty financial savvy. So those $9,000 I'm going to invest back into the community, and I am going to have the entire city of Corpus Christi vote what they would like to do with those $9,000. It's not a lot of money, but it's something that is actually going to contribute to the city.
Well, I think a number of things. One, we've really cranked up the maintenance of our parks. Many of them are going unmaintained, and if you've got a shabby park and it doesn't have any appeal for people to come out and participate and enjoy the park, well, then they're not being useful. So I think if we clean up the parks, I think probably some additional lighting and street lighting. A lot of folks feel like there needs to be some additional street lighting, and we need to see how we can improve that, expand that program. And if you look at many of the parks that have been unmaintained and not paid any attention to, there have been significant improvements in the parks the last 2 or 3 years. They were telling us at one point earlier that they've got all this playground equipment in the warehouse. They just haven't had the money to install it. And she said, "Say that again?" And I said, "No, we've got the parts and the swing sets and all of that in the warehouses. We just haven't had the manpower to do it." So the city manager took that and has accelerated many of those recreational items that have been sitting in the warehouse for a year or so and getting them installed in the parks. And so if you go to many of the parks now, all the old equipment has been taken out or replaced or repaired and put in the new equipment. So parks are important. And I think COVID really emphasized the need for parks when people couldn't get out and about. I saw more people walking in our neighborhoods just to get out of the house to go do a stroll around the neighborhood or walk through the parks. And a nice park is an enjoyable thing. I just, tonight, we just went through the reopening of Artesian Park, which is the city's oldest park, and it looks beautiful. They've already got the lights up for the holiday season, and they got the gazebos there. They've re-landscaped it, and it's a beautiful park, and should be a real attraction for people that are now living in the downtown area, as well as people that come and visit in the hotels. After they walk around, see a few restaurants, they may just go over to the park. It's going to be well lit, and so I think parks have gotten the attention of this council and this city manager. I think you've seen some significant improvements, and you'll continue to see those as we go along.
Like in our bond, I supported the bond. I twice voted on that bond to pass. And in that bond, we have, improvements to senior centers, or we've had improvements to senior centers. And that's very important to me because those are places where people gather, to pass time and just to enjoy. It's part of the quality of life. And I think it's very important because if people don't, if they feel unsafe that a municipality is going to lose funding for libraries, which I think is very, very important, senior centers and all the other things you mentioned, then it's not, it takes away from quality of life and services that we should be offering and continue to. Park safety is another very important thing for me, because I don't think that people feel that safe going to parks. Maybe some, but not all, and probably more than not. So for me, protecting that funding is critical. I have fought for adding personnel to our library staff. And I also believe, though, in talking about libraries, that we can also transform what our libraries offer. I think we can also be creative with that if we need to, and make it not just a library, kind of like now what I did with, what I did here recently was I created a veterans laptop loaner program because of COVID. And I knew that the veterans were having issues with being able to get online and look for jobs, or, do different things that they needed to do because of COVID. And so I personally made the investment and bought 10 laptops, and we have this program out of La Retama Library downtown. And so that's a way to provide a service. It's a different way than a library being used just to go check out books or read books. And so I think there's a very creative way, senior center, same thing, to transform what we have, but not to defund it or, take monies away from it to not use the services. So I'm very supportive of all those things.